He's a major chef at one of the most sought after restaurants in the world. And rejoining us right now is Ruth McCartney and Chef David Skinner. And I've already introduced Ruth, so everybody should know by now who Ruth is. Ruth, did you have a scarf? You didn't have a scarf earlier. Did you change?
I changed, darling. It's Hollywood.
I just want to make sure you know that I'm usually aware.
I was in peach, and now it's blue.
I know. I just want to make sure I'm not losing my mind. You know, it's not a far leap, so I want to make sure. And Chef David Skinner, David, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
And I just have to flip this over. So I want to also mention that we won't be able to talk about David's whole career here, but David, as well as being a chef at and owner of Eculent, which I'll talk about in a second, David is also a professor at Rice, and it's digital
decision sciences.
Decision strategy.
Yeah.
And so David's got a remarkable career in business, not only in the restaurant business, but in traditional business. And David is joined us on our industry advisory committee. So I want to introduce David. David is the owner and executive chef at Eculent. And you've got to look up Eculent. Your mind will be blown when you look at Eculent. Using state-of-the-art technology, the restaurant comes alive with changing artwork, familiar scents, and choreographed music that accentuates the artistry of the dishes presented. Chef Skinner's style is best described as avant-garde, international, and assertive. Eculent is one of the longest waiting list for reservations in the world. If I'm not mistaken, and I could be wrong here, but you can correct me, I think the waiting list is about 6,000 people in about 3 years.
That's about right.
So don't call today, you're not getting in. But someone did jump the line. I heard this story. You know, I asked him, so where's the strangest place that you've got a reservation from? And this person was able to jump the line because I think it was an astronaut on the space station that actually called and said he wanted she wanted a reservation.
Yes, that's correct.
And I mean, that's a great excuse to, you know, say, can I have a reservation in 6 months and 1 day?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to welcome Ruth, you back, and David. A thank you. I know you've moved a few things around to be here, and I really do appreciate it. And I did speculate that we were going to go over, and that was an easy bet. You know, really easy bet.
Okay.
So we're going to talk today about something that people have not even contemplated: the culinary arts and NFTs.
That's right.
Right. I mean, when you think about it, and I know I can attest to my family and what we like to watch, you know, if it's the evening, I know that there's only 2 channels that are coming on. It's the Food Network or the Cooking Channel. One of the 2 are coming on. So I think today that, you know, with the current environment, I don't like to say pandemic because I hopefully we're coming to the latter half of this. Chefs, especially in the last 5 or 10 years, are the new rock stars. These are the people that everybody wants to follow, everybody wants to see. And I think when they do have events, you know, they could draw thousands of people out to watch them do something. So it's an amazing situation. But for by and large, and if our viewers look it up, and Ruth, I know, spent quite some time doing some research here, but nobody is focused on food NFTs.
That's right.
And let's be honest, I mean, everybody's cooking. Everybody's doing something.
Well, we all have to eat. We all have to eat at least once a day is the plan, right?
Yeah. And I can tell my tummy it's telling me I have to eat more than once a day.
I was talking to so more background on Chef. He not only is the Willy Wonka of Texas, well, of cooking. His lab is amazing. He has meticulous spirits that we're going to actually be working with AP and ImagineAR on the label for an AR experience with meticulous. But I first was introduced to David by a mutual friend who curates the music for each course, Barry Coughing. And we have done several events together, dinner with the McCartneys, which is a Fab Four themed deal. And then year before last, he put together Around the World in 10,000 Bites, which was a record-breaking event at the Houston Natural Museum, History Museum. And in the Dinosaur Hall, he and 42 chefs from 10 countries around the world, who prepped in a hotel kitchen across the road because the museum doesn't have potable water, served 101 course dinner to 120 people in 6.5 hours from 10 different cuisines around the world. So Chef is a true visionary. And when he and I got started talking about NFTs, the idea came to light of, well, why don't we make this digital cookbook fractional recipes from his Rolodex, who are James Beard, Food Network, Michelin starred friends of his. So over to Chef.
And so David, just so we're here today to talk about something that is going to be just groundbreaking. And if I can say the name, and Carol will cut to it, it's called Gourmet NFT.
Correct. So this is a site that Ruth and I have put together, and it's basically the ability for chefs on one side and foodies and people that want to own digital versions of in essence gourmet creations on the other. And this last year, all businesses have been really hit by the pandemic, but I don't think any one industry has been hit more than probably the restaurant industry. And so chefs are really looking for how to, try and, keep the restaurants afloat, make money for themselves, keep them afloat, so that when things do finally get back to normal, we can actually still have a restaurant industry, that's alive and thriving. And so anyway, this is, I think, a unique opportunity for chefs, especially really interesting chefs, to be able to get their creations out there. I know lots of chefs that have interesting ideas and things that they want to do, and sometimes can't always get them out the way that they would like. And this, I think, is a really interesting way to sort of publish those things. And a lot of times also chefs don't have time to put an entire kind of cookbook together, but this is a way that you could actually publish or monetize specific recipes that are of interest to people, and for the foodies or whoever, right, to basically create, like Ruth, to create a fractional cookbook. So if you think of well, my wife tells me every time I get an Amazon box, she's like, "Oh, is that another cookbook?" And of course it is, and they show up a couple of times a week. And I have like 2 rooms in my house that are full of nothing but cookbooks. There's probably 3,000 plus in there.
Wow.
And it's one of those where it's like, something new comes out, you want to see it. And this is I think a new way of saying, okay, well, I'm gonna curate, and I'm gonna own, not just a recipe that anybody can get access to, but one that, it's Ruth uses the word to describe my restaurant as sort of unobtainium, which is a bit true. It's very hard to get in, unless you're an astronaut. But it still took him a couple of months, but nevertheless, but it's a way to sort of own a something that not everybody's going to have, right? I mean, and that's the whole beauty of sort of NFTs and owning really any art, right? I mean, if you think of a recipe, it is art. It's art in one form, right? But it's an art that you can actually create yourself, right?
Well, the other thing I liken it to is when iTunes came along and split up the fact that you didn't have to buy a whole album with 12 songs, one of which you liked. You could now go buy them single by single. With gourmetnft.com and the massive amount of recipes that we're going to put through Oasis Digital Studios on the blockchain, if you are like Brittany, the Sweet Wanderlust dessert blogger, you're only interested in desserts. Well, you can collect and amass NFTs of only desserts, or if you're gluten-free, or if you keep kosher, or whatever. You don't have to buy a whole cookbook of recipes, 80% of which you'll probably never cook or use. With this fractional digital recipe cards on the blockchain, you can collect whatever floats your boat. So if you're a pescatarian, great, you collect all those recipes. You're not just stuck with a whole book from one chef.
Right.
But more
and
than
I think
that, go ahead,
right.
go ahead.
David. But the other thing is, a lot of people, will go to a restaurant and it's like, oh my God, I fell in love with that dish, right?
Right.
I really like to have the recipe. Chances are that recipe is not in a cookbook that you
That's
can
what I was
buy,
gonna say,
right?
right.
Generally, when a chef publishes a cookbook, it's all recipes of things that they've done and they've moved on to something else, right? So if you really want the latest, greatest recipe from your favorite restaurant, chances are it's not published anywhere.
Chances
And
are
so
it's not
this
even
is
written down. Sometimes it's just in chef's head.
Well,
sometimes
yeah, and
that's
I was going
true.
to say that this is an opportunity for people to get, the secret recipes, the
Yes.
behind the scenes recipes, the special recipes. And if you follow a particular chef, they may have a limited time offer of an NFT for just a
Yep.
week that has 10 copies of a recipe that people are just been hammering at them to get.
Right.
And it also offers opportunities for us to become better chefs or better cooks, because there might be NFTs that have a secret part about knife techniques or
Mhm.
Method.
how to use
Method.
how to use a rice mill, which I never knew existed until I watched the Food Channel opportunities.
The other add-on to that, of course, is the physical experiential part, which we talked about, the pinnacle, the collectible cards, the chase cards, and
Sure.
so on and so forth, with restaurants like Eculent, where there's a 3-year waiting list, because David only seats 12 people at a time, 3 nights a week. That's it. He's done. That's all he needs to do. With the owner of a Pinnacle NFT, there will be a chance, chef, to
Yes. Have an actual experience at the restaurant in addition to the NFT. So it'd be a very specific, very exclusive, probably one event only kind of experience.
So we're talking about
the NFT owner and 11 of their friends will get to jump the queue and experience something that is unobtainium.
right. So we're talking about super golden tickets. We're talking about opportunities potentially to have it could be a virtual session with the chef as well, right?
Could be all kinds of things.
It could be all kinds of things, and it could support not only the industry but good works projects to support restaurants around the world. Because I've seen that on some shows where somebody's competing in an event, but they're also supporting a restaurant in their community. So there's lots of different ways, and food-based charities or food insecurity charities. So there's lots of interesting. Plus, as Ruth said, generally speaking, at least once a day, we all have a meal. So it's hopefully more than once a day. But so this is a really amazing.
As a super fangirl of Chef David Skinner, I'm still amazed that we have the opportunity to. He's claiming the space. He owns the space. Nobody else is doing this. He's the first, as he is the first in many, many things. Yeah. And I think it'll be an exciting way, especially for people who don't have room to collect a lot of cookbooks. A lot of people live in small apartments and so on and so forth. So hopefully it will support the industry, support the good works in the industry, save chopping down trees and printing and cooking lots of cookbooks in the future, and digitize and fractionalize the recipe industry, and support the culinary workers who've been hit so hard this last year.
I'm so excited by this. This is something that we've been talking about for a while, and it's something that really, again, literally helps an industry, but hits home. Really hits home.
Yes, really.
I don't think even with the change in the environment, I want to go. Like in my house, I'm the only one who eats meat, but I want to go and buy a smoker, because all I do is see things on television that smoke. I want to smoke something. I don't know what, but I want to smoke something, preferably a brisket. But at the end of the day, this does change the landscape. And whenever we travel, when we do travel, we ultimately talk about the places we ate. Exactly. Right? We do. We always talk about food. I don't care what your background is. Everybody talks about food, from sort of candy bars to fine dining. So this is an amazing opportunity, and I know that Ruth has also been already been kind enough to offer our viewers a gift, and David, you're going to give one of our lucky viewers is going to get a meticulous package, correct?
That's correct. That's
right.
Correct.
So, and that's David's restaurant, Eculent. David also has a winery and a distillery, and so we won't be transporting liquor, but we will
Alcohol,
be
yes.
transferring some of the things that you can put liquor into.
Yes,
So that'll be a
very
lot
much.
of fun.
Yeah.
So any parting words that either one of you want to offer?
Chef?
Well, I think, this is a really exciting space that, as Ruth said, I mean, we've been looking and no one's thought of this so far. No one's doing anything in it. So we're definitely the first. I've got a network of, probably 2,000 or 3,000 chefs that we'll be bringing in. And I think it's going to be a very interesting NFT for people to own and be able to sort of, monetize and trade. I think it's also going to be a great way to help the industry and help the chefs that are really struggling. Because think about what it would be like if you had no restaurants and you had no takeout.
Yeah.
How many days a week are you cooking at home?
Well, absolutely. I just want to add to that. It also allows emerging chefs, people who don't
Yes.
have this massive following,
A way to find a voice.
because it's the old adage in which we
get it out.
say sort of in every industry, a rising tide raises all boats equally. But
Right.
so these emerging chefs that are new and innovative will create followings that they may have never had before. So it's
Absolutely.
it's an amazing, and it supports not only the restaurant industry and the chefs, but it also supports specialty shops and online shops and food. And there's so many different things,
Right.
because, if you ever go for a wine tasting, you find that different foods taste differently with the different wines you're eating. So eating and drinking with. So there'll be lots of opportunities here. So I want to thank both of you, and Chef David. I know you took some extra time out of your day to stick around, so I
Happy to do it.
I really do appreciate it. And
Happy.
Ruth, we'll see you again shortly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.